Hello, Dumelang Sambanani. A very warm welcome to your #1 youth current affairs show. Of course, Kibalalaga Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala. You know, with just a few days after the president delivered this year's Sona, the question now on everyone's lips is, did Sona 2023 give a clear indication of how government is going to tackle challenges faced by young people, especially on the ground, Kolosa?
Injalo, Minister of Expressions. As Expressions, we went straight to the ground to find out from young people on the streets, babona, batini, obanambuzo kesi ubuzawo, now is fun ba unxibelelwano nathi kumakhasi ethu onxibelelwano kukuba ingaba uCyril Ramaphosa kwingxelo athe wayikhupha unikeze ingqalelo kwimicelimngeni thina bana batsha esijamelene nayo. Masive ke kuni ba nithini?
With regards to Sona, I think the president did not touch more on how we're going to empower young people that are in high institutions of learning. As we all know that in this country, the most people that are going through a lot is young people that are given matric certificates with bachelors, but when they get to institutions of higher learning, they're still rejected.
There's quite good things that he spoke about, 600 million that is putting into the infrastructure that needs to be constructed. So I think those are key things that he spoke about. But I think the last thing that he needs to do is to give a true account of high unemployment in this country, needs to give a true account of poverty rates that are increasing, of gender-based violence that are increasing, of mass murder into our country, of borders which are not taken care of.
In 2018, we promised that there's going to be 1 million jobs. In 2019, we promised that there's going to be 800,000 new jobs. None of those things have taken place. Eskom has collapsed. He wants to tell us that now he's going to appoint a minister of electricity. What is going to change?
Eskom, Ramaphosa, who could have bought the Eskom, by installing at least the solar panels into all the households, most South Africa, before load shedding, because load shedding is not like something laying like a thief. It knocked into the door where we're going to have a breakdown in electricity.
He has never been able to tackle the issue of making sure that there is no crime, there is no gender-based violence. He's never been able to tackle any issue ever since he entered into office. In fact, the issues are piling up.
I feel like our president doesn't care because we have small businesses that has to run. So this thing of load shedding, I think is not taking it serious.
Ayikho into esingayikhuluma ngogesi, amanzi ayafana nogesi, ukudla kuyasidurelela, ugcwele abantu bokuhamba la eSouth Africa, bayahlokonyelwa, thina abanikazi bendawo siyalamba.
The government is corrupt, nothing's going to change. The youth is going down in shambles, unemployment is always going to rise.
So those were some of the interesting comments coming from young people on the ground in terms of their perspectives around how they see the state of the nation 2023. But to help me unpack this very important conversation that we're going to be having in studio, I am joined by Umandla Pangwa, who is an activist, as well as Unzali Matebola, who is a master's student in politics, as well as a political commentator. So we've got big guns today. Gentlemen and lady, a very warm welcome to Expressions.
Thank you for having me.
So our poll question today is just simply this. Did Sona 2023 give a clear indication of how government is going to be tackling, challenges that young people are facing, whether we're talking about GBV, unemployment, education? Is Sona really tackling those issues? Clearly.
What we can describe it, we can say it was a state of no action. It was figures thrown around, a lot of promises, and I think a reputation of what has been said over the years. Not to forget that there was a lot of promises that were done that the president committed to and thrown a lot of figures, the billions, of which we should ask ourselves, where is that money going to come from? And also looking at what has been done so far. For instance, the president, when he speaks about unemployment, he speaks about the tax incentive, which over years we've opposed to that you want to pay the employers to exploit young people. We've had internships, we've got your learnerships and all of that. They haven't worked. Looking at the statistics and the percentage of youth unemployment, I think the president was out of reality. He is not in touch with what is happening on the ground. When it comes to education, I mean, he speaks about another scheme. NSFAS at this moment is under serious crisis, of which it wouldn't have fees must fall if NSFAS was effective. Yes.
So are you talking primarily about almost like hollow promises all over again, or even most importantly, the fact that he's just repeating himself?
I think he said nothing. He said nothing. When we can analyze it, that the president was only trying to appeal to a psychological manipulation so that they can garner votes for next year, because we know next year it's election time. And you could even see the reaction from the MPs on the ground, even the clapping of the hands. You clapping hands, where else you know that this is...
It felt very mandatory and
it was cold.
as if it was obligation.
Yes, yes.
And I think, Nzali, I want to put you into this conversation. I mean, you are a master's student, so I'm sure you've had to really look at Sona very intricately, right? But most importantly, around issues facing young people. We cannot have this conversation around Sona without talking about the chaos and the disruption that sort of took place. Every time we look at Sona, I mean, I was looking at a lot of the comments that were happening on Twitter where young people were like, okay, so now that the EFF has left, we are now not interested in Sona. I mean, is this a culture, a trend where disruption and interruption within Sona is really what young people are looking into? Do young people even really care about Sona?
Honestly speaking, Sona is something that's alien to us. Okay, this is the reason because we are not really engaged in the projects that actually involve us and that are bound to improve our lives. So what's happening is what we hear, we listen to what the president has to say, but then it's more of some political gaslighting where we are made to question the reality of the perception of our reality, because what was said and what we are seeing are two different things. Well, the distraction that came from the EFF, I would take that as disrespect, honestly. This is when you get to see that politicians only respect us when they are gunning for votes. So rendering to the fact that we're going to have elections next year, this won't probably happen. But now, the question on our minds, on everyone's minds, is if there's so much distraction, if we have so many political parties that are gunning for our votes and they can't even have a joint sitting, are they ready to actually rule? Can we really gun for another political party? Can they really address our challenges if they are going to use populism, propaganda, and point out the obvious that we already know of what's happening? Can't we find a solution? Can't we be glued together by this crisis in finding solutions that will actually put the country forward? So this is in putting politics aside and prioritizing development, and one that speaks to the reality of young people.
But I think the big hashtag as well was the whole hashtag Minister of Electricity. Is that required? Is that important?
It's one of those unnecessary things which the current government of the ANC is embarking upon, of which you create an impression that you are busy while you're doing nothing, actually. Because if you can see the number of ministers that are there in Parliament, they are even more than enough. And if you're going to be bringing in the Minister of Electricity, next time we'll be getting a Minister of Grants, we'll be getting a Minister of Potholes and all of that. Instead of the President going straight to the matter, telling us the when and the how part of it, he's just throwing promises and promises. And the reality that is facing young people, it's that young people are unemployed. And it's a ticking time bomb. I think what they were trying to do was trying to unbundle this ticking time bomb, because unemployment is the one that is actually the problem. And you declare a state of emergency on electricity, but you have above 80% of unemployment. You haven't declared a state of emergency.
So what are you saying? We should have, instead of a Minister of Electricity, maybe we should have had a Minister of Youth Unemployment?
Yes, I think that should be that. And you should actually take into task the Department of Labour, because the Department of Labour is sleeping on duty as we speak. The Department of Higher Education is sleeping on duty as we speak. As you can see now, the president has promised around 20,000 young people that are going to be absorbed to the market. I mean, 80% of unemployment, and you're only taking 20,000.
Look, and I think, you know, and obviously when we get to our closing comments, we'll sort of just really unpack this. I mean, as a young person, you watch Sona, and I think it's really, really important for you to really ascertain for yourself whether it spoke to what your current reality on the ground really is. As we are looking at this very important issue around whether there are clear indication of whether government is going to be able to solve some of the problems that you're facing on the ground. I mean, this is something that you obviously need to engage with us on. Make sure that you tell us on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform you're comfortable with. We continue with this very important conversation after the break. You're watching Expressions.
People are losing hope. People are leaving our country, and controversial things are happening, like the deal about Tottenham that was supposed to bring in funds. Fix the roads, fix potholes. Deal with the agent things first before you can start with the marketing of the country, because you can't market a country that has high unemployment and load shedding on a day-to-day basis.
This thing of load shedding, I think we must find a permanent solution, because businesses are suffering.
Issues that we're facing of electricity and water are affecting young people that are starting businesses. Because if you're starting a business, how is your business going to survive without electricity, without water? So young people go to school, get degrees, but still nothing changes. You get your matric, you don't go to school, you want to open a business, nothing will work, because this system keeps on oppressing and suppressing the voices of young people each and every day.
The students, right now they are studying, they should get the internship, back ready, equipped with enough practical skills. Then, partner workplace, then at least poverty cycles differ in South Africa.
Come next year, we are voting ANC out. We need a different party to come and
Sure. Ramaphosa leaving. That's what I want to see happening, because he's not doing anything. As part of the youth, I do not believe in the ANC anymore. They're failing us.
Mabasifake as youth. There is no electricity, wishy. Maybe we'll do something better.
Oloke Luluva lwabantu abatsha from the streets. Welcome back. You are still tuning in to Expressions. Saqhubeka ke nokuxovula lengxoxo enikeza uMzantsi Afrika apho kaloku besibone iSona. Obona mbuzo sibuzayo kukuba ingaba intetho kaMongameli uCyril Ramaphosa kwiSona iye yanikeza ingqalelo kwimiceli-mngeni thina singabantu abatsha esithi sijamelane nayo. To unpack this discussion, I'm joined by Nicoline Trom, who's also a feminist. Welcome to Expressions. Unjani?
Molweni enkosi, ndiyabulela ukuba lapha.
Nathi siyabulela ngokuba ube lapha. Phakathi kwezinto uMongameli athi wazichaphazela, i-load shedding and also the unemployment rate. Ingaba mhlambe xa ujongile zonke izinto athi wazichaphazela zizawuzisa isisombululo?
Okwangoku ndiyacinga sililizwe siqhelile into ukuthengiselwa iphupha esingasoze silifumane anyway. It's just an illusion, iSona is just a tick of a box into kokuba ndiyenzile and ndathetha ndaviwa sisizwe. Kodwa into ekufuneka sazi into kokuba iintetho zabo ne-actions are not meeting. On the ground, it's a different thing. Sithina abakuyo esiyibonayo each and every day. Uyichaphazele kancinci into ye-gender-based violence ekubeni ba iyinto egqiba ilizwe. Kungakumbi thina abantu bangomama sihlukumezekayo umhla nezolo. Abantu xa singajonga mhlambi kule case yaseKrugersdorp babanjwa abantu bebaninzi ke futhi, kodwa akho nomnye obanjiweyo namhlanje ngenxa yokokuba benza izinto be-under pressure befuna ukubonisa ilizwe into kokuba siyakwazi ba-appeare bebhizi loo nto bengenzi into.
Previous Sonas kudala zikhona, and ezinye zezinto abazithembisayo siyabona into yokubana azikafezekiseki. Yintoni kanye kumele uba kuyasukunywa iyenziwe, especially coming from us as young people?
Communities need to empower themselves. They need to motivate and inspire themselves, especially abantu abasha. Harness the strength within them to change things around. The government is not going to do that. Hence, kwi-Sona yoqala ka Tatu Ramaphosa wathi ithuma mna South Africa eyithatha kwingoma ka Brahu Masekela, which I believe it was an insult to his memory. May his precious soul rest in peace. Xa thi ithuma mna South Africa, it was derived from i-Freedom Charter, apho ithi people shall govern. That's what we need to see now. People standing up for themselves. Abantu mabavuke bazenzele and create a network of communities that are tired of promises. Create a network of communities that are standing and saying, we can do things for ourselves. Kubuyelwe back ebuntwini. If probably the leaders can tap into their Ubuntu in all their thought, speech, and action, and in all spheres governing the Ubuntu, maybe we will be a better country.
So they really are a step closer, as much as if we involve young people on the ground. And I want to get to your work, because I mean, you work a lot with young people, especially considering izinto ze-GBV cases. How far are you since kubonakala ngathi justice is not served up in South Africa?
Kulunyak Peleo, President wenza the second presidential summit is our teklisha issues the gender-based violence. But the question is that these are just to show, this is just to show off. They don't have the strategy. They don't have, I repeat, the willingness to change what is happening. Abantu abacha on the ground are the ones that knows what to do. People, not even just abantu abacha, people that are affected by these decisions that are taken, are the ones that knows what needs to be done in order to change the status quo of the country.
And sadly, we are not part of decision processes.
You'll never be part of decision processes because the leading government has lost its mandate. They believe that they are the rulers, and yet the people shall govern. Yaichilo i-Freedom Charter, that was the reason it was drafted. Kukubona abantu bebaninzi behlukunyezwa yi-system. So bona, they compromised bahamba ngale system ehlukumeza abantu. So it is time to change that system. But the system will only change if people stop being tired, because abantu badiniwe, badikiwe zi-promises, and they don't know what to do. But I say people do know what to do. It is time you stand up and you become self-reliant as communities and less dependable on the government.
Profound. We really appreciate your time. And I think one question that I want to pose over to you, Jake, and where are the voices of young people? Because we continue with the discussion. Make sure that you do interact with us on our social media platforms. Siabuya, Don't Move, and Marcel.
You're still watching Expressions, your #1 youth current affairs show. So President Cyril Ramaphosa just recently delivered Sona. And the very important question that we're asking you, that we want you to engage on as young people on the ground, is simply this. Did Sona 2023 give a clear indication of how government is going to be tackling some of the challenges that you are facing on the ground? So, I mean, of course, we need to wrap this conversation up. Young people, what's their way forward? A lot of them feel like they cannot trust this current government. They can't trust the president. Actually, a lot of them are saying that he must go. But what is the way forward for young people in terms of 2023 and moving forward into the future?
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to state out that power is not given, it's taken. And not in light of protests or anything of that sort, but then we would need a bottom-up approach in every development and projects where we are involved, where we get to be engaged, where we get to monitor and evaluate all the projects that are happening in our community, as they will serve us. But at the same time, this would need realistic, measurable goals. The moment you say that you're going to tackle unemployment, please tell us how, the how part. At the same time, we need a clear roadmap and realistic timelines, please, so that we don't throw around hope, because hope only buys us time to degrade further, and there's no more time.
And, you know, that was the essence of our president's Sona address, around the fact that we are a nation that is hopeful. Mandla, there needs to almost be an undertaking where we are thinking beyond 2024, where, and I loved what Nicolene was saying around the fact that the people shall govern. If young people want to take that mantle seriously, what should they be doing?
Yeah, first, we are very funny young people in South Africa, a very funny youth that allows people who are already on their future to decide our future, because we're still going to our future. People there who are sitting in parliament, those are people who are already in their future. I mean, if you are 50 years and above, you're already in your future. So you can't be allowed to be taking decisions for people who are still going to the future. I think as young people, we need to first take ourselves serious, and we need to now make sure that we take this government to account. We take this government on a lot of things, because it's not only about the Sona, what is happening. There's a lot of things as young people who've expressed, but we just leave them on expression, but we don't take action. And there's so many things that are happening in other countries which are not allowed by young people to happen, and young people take action. And I would not be coming here and calling for action and saying we're calling for chaos, but we have channels, we've got possible policies that we need to enforce as young people. Because now, as we are facing the country, we can see that even those who are telling us about hope, they don't have hope themselves. So how can you be told by somebody who doesn't have hope? I think also we need to be able to utilize the platforms that are there. We need not to wait for the government to create platforms for us. We have platforms in our townships. We have platforms in our educational institutions. We need to utilize those platforms, make sure that we bring back what was happening prior 1994, where people would actually take on the government. And I mean, it was said by Nelson Mandela himself that if ANC is doing what apartheid is doing to the people, we need to do to ANC what we need to do to ANC what we did to apartheid.
So for young people who are watching this show, and this is going to be a quick one, right, Nzali? What were your important takeaways? What are the golden nuggets that you want to leave young people with in terms of what Sona was saying to young people, especially around the challenges that they're facing?
Oh, okay, I would like to say that there is no capacity from the government, but then the people do have the capacity, because the moment we elect you into power, we are casting away our power to you. Therefore, the power remains with us. And until we take action, then nothing will happen. As much as we are waiting on the government is also waiting for us. Then we can't wait further.
I agree with my colleague here. They don't have capacity. They don't have a will. And I want to say to young people, it's us who need to enforce that will. And enforcing that will, it means we need to make sure that we take up everything that we have. We have got skills, we've got education, and we can express ourselves so well. Then we need to take that into action.
Absolutely.
Because as I said, this was a state, it's a state of no action. We need to convert it to action.
Action, and of course, this is up to young people to basically do that. And that was Umandla Pangwa, who's an activist, as well as Unzali Matebula, who is a master's student in politics and political commentator. Thank you, lady and gentlemen. I think you gave us a lot of food for thought. Thank you so very much. And of course, want to say as well, too, thank you to Nicolene as well. I think, sure, she was
profound. We need young
she was very
people.
profound.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what's missing, eh? Young people.
Yes, we need young people.
If maybe the president had consulted young people around Sona, maybe it would have just gone very well.
Exactly, and no one is coming to rescue us.
Absolutely.
We are the future.
Absolutely. And of course, Mubogedi Kogaye, we want to thank you so very much for watching today's episode. That's all we have for you for today. But of course, we are going to end this in style. We are going to have a closing performance from
Dear Frenzy to No Pressure.
No pressure.
Yay.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Mama said that jumping on it like a trampoline, yeah, you know what it is. My swings that suddenly got no control, you can pardon me, yo. She told me that she loves me, but she wished that she could hear me. She like, please don't follow me. I'm like, please don't follow me, yo. Sexting when I'm on tea, yeah, she know that I'm with you on a low key. Let me pour some milk on a cookie. She cover all my drinks, that's a roofie, yeah. She told me that she loves me, but she wished that she could hate me. She like, please don't follow me. I'm like, please don't follow me, yeah. Tell me what you like, yeah.